Got very good arms.
He didn't fall? Inconceivable.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and I thought I was done covering all this, these allegations within the comic book industry. You know, I did one video basically covering the allegations, did another video talking to Perch about it. Then I did a 2-hour stream, and it's just as far as the issues within the culture of comic books. Today, there was an accusation that was so off base that I have to cover it. And today, here to talk with me about this is my good friend, freelance writer and editor, Aaron Sparrow. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Good to be here.
Oh, I wish it could be under better circumstances, but you know, I know you've been seeing all this. I saw some of your posts on social media where you've had some commentary about all the allegations going on, and I know you take these all very seriously.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like I said on Twitter, I worked in a lot of different industries throughout my life, and I didn't really see sexism in action until I got into the comic book industry. So that was like my first real exposure to like, oh, this is what they mean when they say, there's sexism. Because I was seeing it firsthand in like really obvious ways. So yeah, it's something I do take very seriously, and it seems like there's a lot of stuff coming out right now. Some of it valid concerns, and some of it less valid.
Well, I firmly put this next one in the less valid. This is an accusation from Magdalene Visaggio against Sean Gordon Murphy, and I'm going to read out it's a series of 3 tweets. It's part of a larger section, but these basically cover the accusation itself. And this is what Magdalene Visaggio tweeted out. I'm not looking for comfort and sympathy, so please no internet hugs or advice. I just want to talk about what happened to me this weekend. Again, Sean, referring to Sean Gordon Murphy, never touched me or intimated he might do so. I am not accusing him of assault, but he did hook me and use me. Everything from the unfulfilled promises of future professional and financial assistance to love bombing, all in the service of making sure I defend him when he did problematic shit, textbook stuff I spent days thinking over and talking about with other women. He did it too. What scared me more than anything Sean did was how easily he did it to me. I wanted some of his shine, and he validated me during a period of intense career anxiety. I was not smarter than everyone else. I was not smart enough to see it. I don't even know what to say here. This is hogwash. This isn't an accusation. It sounds like Sean Gordon Murphy was nice to Magdalene Visaggio.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what exactly are the allegations. It's interesting to me that they start out, he didn't touch me, he didn't assault me, but you clearly, by including that, you clearly want to make a connection to being abused, and I don't think that holds water. At least the weight of the accusation. It sounds like Sean Gordon Murphy was nice to you. Sean Gordon Murphy befriended you. And then out of that friendship, and maybe he did say like, I'll talk to some editors, that's not an uncommon thing in the industry. If you meet somebody and you like them and you think that, maybe they're capable of doing some good work, that you'll put in a good word for them. That happens all the time. But what happens most of the time is that a lot of that stuff never comes to fruition. That's just the way the industry is. You'll talk to an editor. He'll be like, hey, I really want to work with you. You guys will start making some plans. And then something will happen, like the direction of the publishing plan will change. Your editor will change, positions. There's like behind the scenes politics that goes on. So most things that you're promised in the industry don't come to fruition. And maybe that hasn't been Mags's experience. Mags is used to getting a lot of work in the last couple of years. So maybe this is kind of like the culture shock, but this is how it is for most people in the industry. It's, you talk to people and they say, we'll try and get together on something, or we'll try and get you something. And it doesn't happen for whatever reason.
Sean Gordon Murphy is kind of known throughout the industry as being a really nice guy. So I imagine when people approach him or they're talking about talking about business, a lot of times they say, I would love to work with you. And I'm sure his response is, absolutely, I'd love to work with you too. We'll see if it happens. Because he doesn't want to be rude and be like, well, I'm sorry, I don't have room for you on my White Knight universe or the Murphyverse, whatever they're going to call it over on DC Comics. He was probably just being polite, saying that he promised of future professional and financial assistance. Like she's upset that he didn't give her money or he didn't give her work.
Yeah, the financial assistance part is interesting. Like if it was just promise of future work, that's something that you can easily define. Like he was like, oh yeah, maybe we'll work together on something. That's not really a promise. That's a suggestion of like maybe, and obviously you and I don't know the particulars of the conversations between the two.
They could have pinky swore on it, and it could have been like, legit.
Yeah, but still, like, that doesn't mean anything. That, ultimately, you only have so much control over things, and there's all kinds of people that I would still like to work with to this day, and we've been talking about it for years, like, let's get together on something, and it just hasn't happened, because that's just the nature of the business. Everybody's busy, people move from thing to thing. I think I picked up Adventure Man #1, and it was in the back. Matt Fraction's talking about how he and Terry Dodson like first started talking about that like in 2010. So there you go. It took 10 years for that thing to come to fruition. The idea that you're going to be handed something, overnight, or even like within 2 years in this industry is kind of preposterous. That does not happen that often. And granted, it's happened a lot for Mags. Mags has had a really, busy career over the last 2 years. But, like to basically think that Sean Gordon Murphy owes you, a living or owes you a book because he said he might want to work with you or he will work with you.
He was nice to you.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And if you are going into a friendship, like if Sean Gordon Murphy is my friend, and I expect that out of that friendship I'm going to get work, then I'm not being a really good friend to Sean Gordon Murphy because I'm using him. I'm using him as a leg up to get into the industry.
Well, she's definitely talking, within this that she feels like he was grooming her, apparently. So when he did things that she didn't like, I imagine this is, his initial support of Doug TenNapel. He doesn't denounce people a lot in the industry. Mostly he's pretty positive, even about other people that a vast majority of the people in the comic book industry despise. Because he was friendly to her, that he was doing that so she would come and defend him and be an ally when he was under attack. This feels like projection. I don't think Sean Gordon Murphy befriends people so they'll defend him in hard times. I think that's something that all these people that are kind of doing the accusing do. They have all these networks so that when the spotlight shined on them, they'll come and protect each other. Yeah,
they don't have friends, they have allies. But, the fact of the matter is that they all turn on each other. So, that allyship is really kind of empty. It's better to have friends. And I would have to see some sort of evidence of Sean Gordon Murphy asking her or saying to Mags, like, hey, I'm kind of getting some heat here. Can you help me out? I would need to see that actually happening because, just. Or
you owe me one. You owe me one, kid. Can you jump in here for me?
Yeah, exactly. I would need to see that request in order to give full credence to, because otherwise it does sound like projection. It sounds like supposition. I don't know. I'm just one of those people where it's like, I need to see the hard evidence. I need to see the receipts.
Well, I don't think there are receipts. It just sounds like they were friends. And then, at this point, this is kind of gets to the bottom of it. She says, I've spent days thinking over and talking about with other women he did it to. So obviously this is in one of those whisper networks. And it's become quite apparent that there are groups behind the scenes that are going kind of headhunting, big game hunting in the comic book industry. They want to take down big name creators. Obviously, Sean Gordon Murphy is one of them. They've gone after him before, obviously with the support of Doug TenNapel and other things like that. Because he, like I said, he doesn't go around denouncing people. He's generally positive to everybody. And it sounds like they wanted to take him out. He obviously hasn't really done anything, or I think we would have heard that by now. So now that they've talked Mags into the fact that he was grooming her, because he was nice to her.
And who are these other women? Are we going to get anybody else coming forward? Or is this just, one of those things where it's like, oh, he was doing this to other women. What was he doing? Was he being nice? Was he actively grooming? Again, I need to see some receipts. I'm not just going to take, this at face value because, for much the point that you just made, they've been going after Sean for months now and they've not been able to get him. So now this just feels like the latest effort, but it feels like there's not really anything to get him on because he's not a guy who's really done anything wrong that we can tell so far.
Well, just wrong think. But every time there's an accusation against him, there's always a couple people come out and be like, I've hated this guy, since he came into the industry, or I've had it out for him for 2 years. But, it almost feels like these other women that they were, in the Whisper Network talking might have been the one doing the grooming. Because, are you sure you weren't a victim here? He's been victimizing everybody. Are you sure you weren't a victim? He likes to say nice things to you. Then he'll make promises. And and then basically talked her into the fact that Sean Gordon Murphy was like grooming her to be his ally, nothing more, just by being a friend. But he didn't want anything out of the grooming. He just wanted her support.
Maybe he actually liked Mags. I mean, maybe he met Mags. They talked about comics or whatever, and he actually liked her. Like, I don't understand why that is out of the realm of possibility. There's all kinds of people that you meet in this industry and that you can like for a variety of reasons, that don't come from your same walk of life or don't think like you do. I mean, I know that's not the popular view right now, but I'm going to give Sean the benefit of the doubt until I have reason not to. And so far, I haven't given any compelling reason not to believe that he is exactly the way that he presents himself.
We've had all these accusations. I was kind of talking about this weekend. They had this list of like 40 names, and the ranging of all the things they did was just astronomical that they would put them on the same list. And then lumping Sean Gordon Murphy into even on this list, it specifically stated in that tweet, he did not touch me. He never intimated he wanted to touch me, and he never assaulted me. But he was nice to me, and I know that he had ulterior motives for it. Like, where does this stop, Aaron? Like, where do these accusations stop? Or I know you're a nice guy. You've been very friendly to me. Have you been grooming me so that I will defend you if people are mean to you on the internet?
People are mean to me on the internet all the time. What are you talking about? I don't know, man. Like, as somebody who routinely gets updates when his name comes up in these whisper networks, and that's the other thing about these whisper networks is that you can't trust the people that are in them. They're going to go talk because people sometimes
it's a gossip network. They like to gossip.
Yeah, and
even outside the network.
A lot of times they're in there and they're secret agents. They don't agree with you, but they're in there go along to get along. But when they see something untoward going down, or they see somebody talking shit, they're going to go tell the other person, like, hey, I think you need to know that this is being said about you. And I don't think too much of it in my case because, I'm not trying to go work for Marvel. I'm barely interested in working in the mainstream comic book industry anymore. There's properties I'd like to work on and there's things that I would like to do, but I don't need to. And honestly, I mean, without trying to sound vain, the comic industry needs people like me more than people like me need the comic industry. It is shrinking and falling apart. And it needs people who are willing to come in and write solid stories and treat the customers with respect, and to basically organize stories that, will be exciting, will make sense, and, will continue on and be left intact for the next writer who comes along. Not everything needs to be deconstructed. These are all things that, would benefit the industry to have more people who are like-minded in that way, from whatever walk of life they come from, whatever political persuasion. I don't care. I've worked with so many people in the industry from so many different walks of life. And the only thing that ever mattered to me, I didn't care about their identity. I didn't care who they sleep with. I don't care what their politics are. The only thing I cared about was, can you do the job? Can you deliver it on time? And will you be nice to our customers? That was the only hiring criteria I had. Anybody could pitch to me. Anybody who walked up to me at a con and introduced himself for the first time could throw me a pitch. If they sold me on themselves right there, all right, man, send me an email. Let me see what you got. And I'd give them a shot. I'd turn it into Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks or whoever I was working with and see if I could get it approved. If, I felt like they had the chops. And I think the industry has just become such a incestuous little pool of whisper networks and, people stabbing each other in the back and talking about each other and just like clawing at each other to get ahead. Like the crabs in the bucket analogy comes up all the time, and it's very apt. Is, they're all just pulling each other down because they don't want anybody else to get ahead. And I think that we're entering a period of extreme anxiety and extreme panic for comic book professionals because they're seeing kind of the writing on the wall. Marvel still hasn't gone pencils up. They're just kind of like running out the clock on what they already had in the pipeline, it seems like, for the rest of the year. So I don't think a lot of these people are going to be, getting a call for work anytime soon. And I think that's starting to take its toll. They're starting to turn on each other.
Yeah, so you think they're trying to maybe pull Sean Gordon Murphy down to open up some spots?
It could be, but what spots are they going to open up? They're not going to hand the Murphyverse over to anybody else.
It's worthless without Sean Gordon Murphy.
Yeah, exactly. It's got no real teeth without him behind it.
And he's one of the few talents in the industry that can actually sell a book with his name on it.
Yeah, there's very few left. I mean, I look at the numbers every month. Anytime we had a White Knight book coming out that still sold really well for us, but other big names in the industry who used to be dependable, that you can't depend on them anymore. And I think what people are finding out is that they placed all this importance on their social media and, the amount of followers they have, but that does not equate to sales. Just because people show up for your free content online, or you talking online, doesn't mean they're going to buy your book. If they did, then CM Punk's, Drax the Destroyer book would have sold 1 million copies. If, like Gail Simone wouldn't have had her Domino book canceled. Twitter clout does not translate to sales. These people that follow you do not spend money.
All right, Aaron. So, let's do a little bit of prognostication here. Like, where does this end? I don't see them stopping with Sean Gordon Murphy, despite being one of the people that can actually sell comic books on his name alone. There are other people that can actually sell more comics books on their name alone. Who are they going to go after? Bigger fish, or are they going to go after bigger creators? Do you think they're going to, kind of start moving over to the editorial staff, maybe even the management, the leadership? Because I can't see it, stopping with Sean Gordon Murphy. They're only going to want to go up, especially if they bring him down.
Well, I don't think that they're going to be, barring some kind of actual legitimate allegation or misconduct that they can point to. I don't think that they're capable of bringing down Sean Gordon Murphy. And even if they did, even if they cost him his job at DC, he's crowdfunding now. Yeah, he'll go crowdfund and he'll do fine. But I think that we're going to see. I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon. I think that there's legitimate abusers in the industry. Legitimate people that have gotten away with things that are going to be exposed. But I also think that there's a lot of people that just wake up in the morning and wander back and forth looking on Twitter to see who they can destroy. And they're never satiated. I think they're going to keep trying to pull down bigger and bigger fish. I've seen names on there. I saw that list that was going around, and, like Kurt Busiek was on it. And I was like, what are the allegations against Kurt Busiek? I don't even, I've never even heard anything in regards to him, being any kind of predator or engaging in any kind of predatory behavior. Is he just on there because, I could be wrong. Maybe there are, but, I haven't heard anything. And, even being on kind of like in the inside of the industry, I've never heard anybody speak ill of him in that way. Like I said, I'm not very connected. I'm not one of the comics elite. And oh man, after this last week, thank God for that, because it seems like there's a whole lot of terrible behavior going on with the comics elite that they've all been covering up until it's time to draw out the long knives and betray each other for that crumb. But yeah, I just think it's going to continue, because the people that are doing this, the people that are invested in this, they don't have anything to lose. Yeah, and they don't have anything to, most of the people that pile on they're not in the industry. They're not even comic book fans. Yeah, and they're not even comic book fans, but they're going to be able to get that little dopamine hit of being on the winning side of something, as inconsequential as, a Twitter, witch hunt. I guess if that's what floats your boat,
So what are the chances you think that anybody influential or important that has some clout in the industry comes out and defends Sean Gordon Murphy? I know he has friends in the industry, big friends in the industry. I haven't seen or heard anything from him yet. They could have already done it, but I haven't seen it. Do you see anybody coming to his defense besides fans and just people with common sense?
No, I don't think any of his friends in the industry, and that's the problem, is I don't think any one of them is going to probably even acknowledge it. It's just the industry runs on fear. For people who write heroic fiction, or, this is an industry full of cowards, moral cowards that do not stand up for their friends, do not stand up for what's right. They'll sell anybody out because they're afraid of the target being turned on them. And many of them, maybe rightfully so, because they've got skeletons in their closet. We saw that with Cameron Stewart, for a guy who was always coming out and tweeting, the right thing, had all the right politics and all the right thoughts, and then you find out that, he's got something creepy going on. And it just makes me suspicious of anybody who's always out there with, the right opinion, the approved opinion. It's like, what are you hiding? What are you trying to distract us from? We're all flawed human. We're all flawed human beings. We've all, some of us haven't done quite the terrible things that Cameron Stewart's accused of, but, everybody's made mistakes in their life, and everybody's, done things that maybe are, somewhat questionable at some point. And, how long are we going to burn people down? And how long do they have to deal with the stigma of whatever it is that they're accused of? How long is it before you're forgiven? Like, if you did something 20 years ago, and you're a different person now, does that thing from 20 years ago define who you are? I don't think it does.
Well, I think that it depends on the details and circumstances. But I think in this case, me personally, I don't think that Sean Gordon Murphy should walk with his head hung high. You can have his head hung high. I don't think these accusations are anything. I think they're merely just Mags trying to get a spotlight on herself after some people convinced her that something happened when it's absolutely clear just by her own words that nothing happened. There was a complete nothing burger.
Yeah, I think that the best thing that Sean could do is just ignore it. Like you said, it's a nothing burger. It seems to have nothing behind it. And unless
I think he has to defend himself, or people are just going to keep doing this to him.
I mean, they're going to.
You can't be the nicest guy in comic books forever. Eventually you're going to have to stand up for yourself and tell people you've had enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple of opportunities so far to stand up for himself, and he's tried to be the nice guy. I don't know. I don't
always
know
plays the nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not at some point. I think he does have to fight back. Whether or not he does, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think that this accusation is worth, is at least as it has come out so far. I don't think that it has any teeth. I don't think that it's even really worth acknowledging. Like, you should just come out and say, the best thing you can do is just come out and say, I reject your premise. And that's the only thing that he has to say about it, because it's just such a nothing, just such a non-topic, a non-traversy, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, Aaron, I really appreciate your perspective and kind of coming on here and talking about the accusations against Sean Gordon Murphy. I'm firmly in Camp Murphy on this one. I don't think there's really any gray area. This feels completely black and white to me. I'm sure there's something in the middle in there that's not quite being out there, that's missed in translation, but I can't imagine it swaying my mind on this one. It feels like he didn't do anything wrong, except maybe befriend the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, and maybe Mags is befriending the wrong people in these groups and being manipulated. There's all kinds of things that go on, and there's all kinds of people that'll take advantage of you. And, so I'm not really ready to completely, fault Mags either, because I don't know what influences are going to work on Mags. If you're spending several days talking to people, here's really the truth. Sometimes people that you talk to don't have your best interests in mind, and they will manipulate you and try to convince you that other people have manipulated you because it serves their ends. And that could very well be happening here. Of course, this is all supposition. We could be wrong, but that's the way it feels right now. And I reserve the right to revise my opinion if future information comes out. But yeah, right now I'm in the same camp as you. I think that I don't see that Sean Gordon Murphy has done anything wrong at this point.
All right, Aaron, I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely.